Jeff Cleghorn, we heard you trying to get through. If you are there, you may testify now.
Uh, yes, thank you. Good afternoon. I speak in opposition to SB 214, and more specifically in favor of a technical fix to the definition in this bill to exclude children from coverage. I am a lawyer and was a gay rights activist for much of the past 3 decades. I served on the board of directors of Lambda Legal, and the Human Rights Campaign gave me an award. I have been a commentator on gay issues on MSNBC and CNN. While it began as a good faith effort in an attempt to help adults living with the gender dysphoria or transvestic disorder DSM-5 conditions, today's queer and transgender activists have lost the script. Through growing numbers of gay men and lesbians throughout the Western world are speaking out against the transgender medical industry's targeting of children. New gay rights groups such as the LGBT Alliance, the LGB Alliance, and the Gays Against Groomers are speaking out in defense of kids. The trans medical industry pushes off-label experimental treatments like puberty blockers and wrong sex hormones, in addition to dangerous surgeries, such as amputating teen girls' healthy breasts, some as young as 12 years old. These medications are not FDA approved for this purpose, and no pharmaceutical company making them has ever sought FDA approval. Why? The reason is they have no reliable evidence any of these treatments are safe and effective long term. Not unlike the opioid epidemic, caused and driven by greedy pharmaceutical companies and doctors placing profit over people, today's trans healthcare for kids is profit driven. Young women and men have been harmed, as evidenced by a Reddit detransitioner group with over 52,000 members. Vaginal atrophy, sterilization, loss of sexual function, and early onset osteoporosis are among the life-altering problems experienced by kids. And just like the opioid epidemic, where we saw pain management clinics popping up all over, we now have hundreds of gender clinics, including more than 50 pediatric, where almost none existed just 15 years ago. The market projections for U.S. sex reassignment surgery, already over $2 billion a year, are projected to soar higher and higher in the coming years. Young lives, including many lesbians and gay males, are being devastated as the transgender medical industry is laughing all the way to the bank. It is time to hit the pause button in Connecticut and across the United States and to conduct a systemic review of the medical evidence, as they have done in Europe, to investigate what gender ideology is doing to children. Thank you.
Thank you. Comment or question from members of the committee? Comment or question, Representative Trubisky.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. And thank you for coming in. Can you give a little bit about your background?
Yes, I have been a gay rights activist for more than 30 years. I worked on the legal staff in Washington, D.C. of the Service Members Legal Defense Network from 1997 through 2003. I also served later for 6 years on the SLDN Board of Directors. I've served on the Board of Directors of Georgia Equality here in Georgia, it's my home state, and more recently on the Board of Directors of Lambda Legal. And I have devoted much of my adult life to arguing for the dignity of gay and lesbian Americans. And I know and have worked with many wonderful transsexual people and transgender people. I have represented many of them in my law practice. And I know that they only want to live their lives in peace, free from mistreatment by anyone. And of course, we support that. And thank goodness now they have every legal right as the rest of us, thanks to the Supreme Court's recently expanding Title VII workplace protections to include transgender in its Bostock decision.
Okay, you mentioned a couple of organizations that you've been associated with in the past. I'm not sure I'm familiar with them. Would you, some of them had, you identified by some type of acronym. I apologize, I'm not familiar with those.
Yeah, sure. Lambda Legal is like the gay ACLU, a national litigation, impact litigation organization that files lawsuits across the country to historically to advocate for gay rights. The Service Members Legal Defense Network is no longer in business. We successfully accomplished our mission. I'm an Army veteran. I'm a gay man. We work to persuade and change hearts and minds of the American people that gays and lesbians can, and in fact always have, served in the military with dignity. So that's what SLDN is.
Okay, thank you. And where is your law practice?
And I'm retired from practicing law actively and was in Atlanta.
Have you been listening to testimony earlier on this bill?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Did you hear the discussion about whether or not this was just a technical bill or whether it had some substantive significance?
Yes, sir. And my understanding is the committee is also going to consider a technical fix on the definition in the bill so as to exclude children from coverage under this bill. And that's what my testimony is about, advocating to be more cautious and careful about what is happening in Connecticut and all over the country related to what is called gender affirming care for kids. And that by itself is an ideological term. It is a partisan term because we're not affirming a gender. We are actually trying to change something that can't change. No one has ever gotten a Nobel Prize for changing someone's sex because it's never happened. And children are being misled and confused into believing that if they take these hormones or puberty blockers, that they can change their sex bodies. There are 11 different studies conducted over a 40-year period, every one of which showed that overwhelmingly children with gender dysphoria, if you leave them alone, they grow out of it through puberty. In other words, puberty resolves the dysphoria. Somewhere between 61 and 98% in every one of these studies show that the children come out on the back end comfortable with their sexed bodies and overwhelmingly identify as gay men or lesbian women.
Okay, well, thank you very much. I appreciate your responses, and thank you for coming in and testifying. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.